This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news today about your health. Because everybody's talking about this coronavirus, which I say is a fake pandemic, is a disguise for the real pandemic or the real crisis is money. But anyway, so it's a very important show because it's health, because you may as well, I think the real issue is coronavirus attacks the unhealthy. And so the best way to not get attacked is get healthy. So it's a very important program. And we have two very special guests. But before that is my sweetheart, Kim. We're going to talk about how important is health and who are the two guests today.
Well, health is super important. I think it's really interesting that they've closed all the gyms. And so I've never seen so many people out on the street walking, running, hiking, biking. It's kind of good to see. But I think what's really important, and our two guests will talk about it, is in this crisis, this coronavirus, is that people aren't doing the things they need to stay healthy. And like you said, it's the unhealthy that are getting hit. So the more we can do. I mean, yesterday I found a pair of 10-pound weights, and I brought them home with me so I can just keep doing stuff to stay healthy. So our guest today, very special guest, Dr. Nicole Srednicki. And Dr. Nicole is a board-certified family nurse practitioner. She's a primary care provider and also board-certified from the American Academy on Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. Graduated from Georgetown University, of course, magna cum laude in Washington, D.C. And our other guest is Dr. Josh Haggard. He's a third-generation chiropractor, and we both go to Dr. Nicole and Dr. Josh. Dr. Josh is a advanced certified in chiropractic biophysics and graduated from the Life West College of Chiropractic. So welcome, Dr. Nicole and Dr. Josh.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
And Dr. Nicole, you're also on the stem cell board, right? Or something like that?
Yes, the American Academy of Stem Cell Physicians.
Right. And so
I'm on their ethics committee.
Right. And the reason we have Dr. Nicole and Dr. Josh on the program is because they have, they're both fanatics on health. I mean, they're Nicole is on my back like a cheap suit constantly. And she's for years now, she's been giving me these stupid things called hand wipes and disinfectant and bug spray and wiping down my seats when I'm on the airplane. I'm going, of course, the reason I have so many hand wipes is because she keeps giving me another batch and I never use them. But anyway, she tries.
She could make a fortune right now selling them.
And that Purell stuff and all that stuff. I never use it, but I have a pile of it now. And Dr. Josh is a doctor of chiropractic. And the reason I like about Dr. Josh, he is a specimen of health. Man, that boy, he and his wife are bodybuilders. They look like health. I mean, you go into their office. It looks health. Everything about their office is health. You lie on their ice table getting, your spine stretched out, and they got health videos coming at you nonstop.
Yeah, they're both educators. They're both educators about health, which is important.
Which is what all of
us...
More
brainwashers. Some people brainwash you while you're there.
And there's one last thing why this show is so important is I just posted on Twitter what had to be taken down. I posted these stats why I think this pandemic, I'm not saying the pandemic is not real or dangerous. I am the poster child for, if you said, who is the classic person that's going to get the coronavirus, my picture would be in the bullseye. I'm an old guy. I've had pneumonia 3 times, diabetes, heart problems. I battle obesity. I've had malaria. I've even had to bail out at 100 feet scuba diving, and I embolized. I blew holes all over my lungs. I never made it to a decompression chamber. So my lungs are shot. Everything about me is shot, and so I should be dead by all things. But, so I post this thing, these stats, why I think it's fake. And I got so much hate mail from people saying, I didn't realize how hypochondriac people are. They're so
Well, I
afraid
think the
of
media and the
dying.
press have really, really driven the fear into people and have turned this into a panic situation where it didn't need to be a panic
I understand, but
situation.
let me finish. So the thing I'm saying is the stats I put on Twitter, you should blame Nicole for them because she gave them for me. and their stats from the WHO, the World Health Organization, and CDC. Caesar for
Disease.
democratic control. But I got one more stat I just sent to Nicole about how this thing is a hoax. How many people die from drug overdoses every year? 67,367 died from drug overdoses. How many have died from coronavirus so far? I don't know, and the numbers could go up, but I think it's a scare tactic personally. But that's why I blame Dr. All you who hate me now because I put it on Twitter, the stats, it was Dr. Nicole's fault. You take full responsibility for that, Nicole?
I will, but I will just say that with these statistics, when people look at them, they can look at it in different lights, and they can also look at it and when you see the number of deaths, worldwide, we have in between 2018 and 2019 that flu season, we had between 290 and 650,000 respiratory-related deaths. So, just to even reduce people's stress levels when, you see these numbers, these death numbers just increasing daily with this current virus, but also, I know it's a serious issue, but put it in relation to the rest of this and let it be a little bit of, okay, well, there are huge numbers of people dying every year, from other respiratory diseases. So, I always talk about stress reduction because, if we're stressed all the time, that's going to weaken our immune system. So, whatever light you want to look at those statistics, you can learn something from it or you can point fingers and so.
Right, but all I'm just saying.
If you want to blame me, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrifying. This guy, Governor Cuomo of New York, he's saying, not one person should die. I mean, look, people are going to die every day because they're old or they're sick. I mean, no, we're going to save everybody. Give me an effing break. I mean, he's using fear of dying and confusing it with everything else, and that's my upset. Now, the good news is today's program is about health. And the reason I have Dr. Srednicki on it, Dr. Nicole, is because she's a health advocate. Now, what does a health advocate mean? It means she protects me from the other doctors, her boyfriend, or her fiance, Dr. Radha Gopalan. They don't trust their own doctors, so they make sure that when it's like having two attorneys, you're making sure one attorney is watching the other attorney. Today, in today's world, you have to have a doctor watching the doctor because there are a bunch of quacks out there. And the thing I love about Dr. Josh, he's going to talk to you about chiropractic because he's going to be politically correct. But many medical doctors think chiropractors are quacks, and chiropractors think the doctor's the quack. There's a bunch of ducks anyway. Well, the point here is we're going to get different points of view, and that's what the Rich Dad Company is about. It's about the good news and bad news about health. So, Dr. Josh, could you quickly, the last time I was talking to you, the reason I go to you is because you're strong and fast enough to move my neck. I have a very stiff neck. I don't move very well. I'm not flexible, but you're fast enough and quick enough to move it. But what are some of the benefits when it comes to immune system and health that chiropractic provides that, 2 shots of penicillin won't?
Well, specifically chiropractic, in general, I could say reduces the sympathetic nervous system. So your nervous system is either in a parasympathetic mode or sympathetic mode. And your sympathetic mode is when it's fight or flight, right? You're trying to get through whatever situation you're in. And we know, if your joints are fixated or subluxated is the chiropractic term we like to use, where things just aren't working right, and we can restore the normal biomechanics and help balance out your nervous system so that you're in the parasympathetic mode most of the day, then your body's going to function normal like it should, which, you're the digestion, you're getting nutrients to your cells, you're getting your immune system at the top of its game, and that's what we're trying to look for through chiropractic. So, a quick story I like to tell people is my dad at the age of 6, they were in Levine, His dad's a farmer. He gets all these sorts of illness and allergies, and he was in all sorts of medications. And finally, the medical doctors looked at his parents and said, he just keeps going downhill, and nothing we have is helping. We don't know what to do. So someone at the church said, hey, why don't you take him to this chiropractor? So they took him to the chiropractor, and it just totally turned his health around. They couldn't believe how much life he got back, got off all the medications, and totally improved his health. So my grandpa sold his farm and went to chiropractic college in the 50s, and that's how it kind of started in our family. So
you're third generation now.
Yeah.
So from a chiropractor's point of view, what did chiropractor do for your grandfather that medicine could not do?
Well, I think it just helps reset the nervous system. So instead of being, crazy allergic to everything that possibly was on the farm and everything else setting his body off, it wasn't functioning correctly. It just helped to restore normal homeostasis, right? And then obviously most chiropractors that I know are all about trying to be as healthy as we can and promote health. And it's a lot of the time is just passing on the normal message of, all right, this is how normal things work. Like we need sunlight for your body to be healthy. Your body, we can supplement vitamin D. Vitamin D is great, but it's never going to be the same as the vitamin D you get by being out in the sun. You can take vitamin C, but it's never as great as getting vitamin C from like an actual grapefruit or an orange or lemon or lime, because those make the foods make the vitamins much more bioavailable. So you get a lot more out of them when you can get them the real way. But I still believe in supplementing those things, obviously.
Right.
So it's more than just the manipulation and the treatment we do with the spine. But a lot of times it's just the message and the environment we're trying to put around people to get their mindset in the right place.
Yeah, so what Dr. Josh is saying, because I go to his place, he's still open, higher risk because you have to get pretty close to adjust somebody. But anyway, he reminds me to go out in the morning sun, especially for half an hour, right? And what does that morning sun do?
Yeah, the morning sun provides so many things that they're still trying to figure out. And, I get a lot of that stuff from a neurosurgeon named Dr. Jack Cruz that I'm a fan of. And he's kind of just brought to the attention. And I've always kind of known my whole life, but he really kind of brings it down to the molecular level, he's all about your mitochondria, right? Trying to help your body produce enough energy and make things work. But it just gives you, it gives you so much, including, like the vitamin D everybody knows about, but so many benefits of being out in the sun. And there's not that many UV rays that people have to worry about in the first couple hours of the morning. So that's why he kind of recommends getting out there then. But any time of the day is better than no time of day. You just don't want to do enough to where you get a sunburn, obviously.
And that's a really good point, because today more and more people are homebound, but they can certainly go out in the yard and hang out there for half an hour in the morning, and that alone, as you're saying, is going to be a very healthy thing to do, which I'm going to start doing.
So Dr. Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dr. Nicole, what Dr. Josh is saying, when I go to you, and I've been, I'm going to you for a couple of years now, people keep saying, how come you're losing weight? The reason I'm losing weight is not because I'm focusing on my weight, I'm focusing on my health. So that's what a health advocate does. And the average person who says, yeah, I get an annual checkup once a year. What goes through your brain when somebody says, yeah, I got an annual checkup once a year? What do you think?
So with traditional medical practices, when they just go in to see their doctor for an annual checkup, the doctor's just screening for diseases that are already there. They really aren't taking a look, what's truly going on inside of their body, something I call internal body mapping. They really aren't looking at these intricate numbers and levels of inflammation and different hormone balances within your body to say, well, way down the road, if we don't fix this now, it's coming. All they're doing is looking for a disease that's there and then hand you a prescription to treat that. So nothing preventative, nothing proactive. All it is a prescription.
So it's like taking your car in only when you've blown your transmission. Rather than put it.
Well, and a perfect example for you, Robert, is, you mentioned that you're a diabetic. Well, you're no longer a diabetic because we have taken very proactive health initiatives to using advanced treatments, but you modifying your lifestyle and us working together as a team. You are in the range of a pre-diabetic now. So technically you are no longer a diabetic.
And then the thing I love about
that's powerful.
Yeah, and I love about Dr. Nicole, she's the classic A student, and since I'm the C student, but she has all these latest techniques, and she's also very open-minded. But you stick this thing inside my veins. It's a laser light, that kills diabetes. What the heck are you doing inside my veins with that laser?
Yeah, so we do some really cutting edge medicines here or therapies, and so I use an intravenous IV, which is where we actually start an IV and then we put different wavelengths of light directly into your blood, and they, depending on the color of light that we're using, it can actually modulate different things within your body. So anything from circulation. There's actually a study that was just published in regards to the possible deactivation of certain viruses because one of these wavelengths can actually penetrate into cells, which getting inside of cells is very difficult, which we know right now dealing with coronavirus. When a virus gets inside of a cell, it's much harder to treat versus some of the other, bacterial type infections. Anyways, but light therapy, so traditional, we know that light's very powerful, going back to Josh's point of sunlight, but our skin is also a barrier to, it's supposed to protect us. And so with the intravenous laser, we bypass the skin to get these different lights directly into your system.
Into the cells. And that's some people say, how come you lose so much weight? Well, as Dr. Josh was talking about earlier, is about sugar and fructose and all that. That's what causes one of the causes of, not that I'm a doctor, but the causes of diabetes is our food industry has pumped fructose into everything, so it tastes good, but it's killing us. And so the food industry is actually a criminal, much like the central bank's criminal, pumping out fake money. Our food industry is pumping out toxic food.
So looking at things that people can do today, Dr. Josh, what sugar is a huge thing. What can some people do today that just small changes that they can make to get healthier?
Well, the 5 things, we kind of tell people there's 5 things you have to do. You have to get out in the sun. That's one of them, right? 30 to 60 minutes every day. You have to eat 5 servings of fruits and veggies, typically more veggies than fruits as we get older, we like to say, but you have to have those every day. And people hear it all the time, but they kind of don't think, and they keep putting it off, and they don't really keep track if they're doing it. And it's like, if you really hold yourself accountable, are you eating enough fruits and vegetables to get all the nutrients and minerals that your body needs? Most people, I'm going to say no. And then exercising. You got to produce all the normal biochemicals and good health. Everybody needs to exercise at least 30 to 60 minutes a day. And then another huge one that everyone's kind of missing the boat lately, I guess, is sleep. All these studies are coming out showing that nobody's sleeping their 7 to 8 hours anymore. So there was a study, we just kind of went through this book, I think it's called Why We Sleep, my wife and I, she's always reading books to me. It was going through a study how they immunized this group of people, and then they let a part of them sleep 5 to 6 hours, and then the other ones got 7 to 8 hours, and they measured how many antibodies they were able to create a few days, 3-4 days after this was all done. And the people who only slept 5 to 6 hours had significantly less antibodies. So then after 3 or 4 days, I think it was, they said, hey, let's let them sleep 7 to 8 hours and see if they can catch up. And by then, it's already missed the boat. Their body never catches up and makes the immune response to what the vaccine was for, right? So these people, if you think you're any exposure to getting any sort of disease, you need to be sleeping before you catch that disease to make sure your immune system is working right so that when you do get exposed, it can help recover as fast as it can. And the last thing is water. Everyone needs to make sure they're drinking enough water. A lot of people say they don't like water, so they add all sorts of sweeteners like the fructose and sugar to it, and then that turns into decreasing the immune response also.
So,
and then the things to reduce would be sugar, stress, too much alcohol, right, and those sorts of things. And this whole reading the media stresses you out, so that's another problem.
Josh, you sound like Nicole. That's the problem right now. So when we come back, we'll be talking more about a more important subject than the coronavirus is how do you not get the coronavirus, which is called your health. And I started my conversation with Dr. Nicole. She is my advocate. She's my physician's advocate. She protects me from the doctors and the health system. And I go to Dr. Josh is because the best way to prevent health is keep your body strong. And he used some fancy terms in there, but when the chiropractic adjustments makes my body stronger, more immune. So we come back, we've been going to more of how we keep stronger and all this, but the most important thing is I'm one of those guys who doesn't sleep, so Dr. Nicole had to get me to sleep finally. I didn't sleep this morning for some reason, but anyway. We're going to talk about vitamins, does one-a-day vitamin help? And all the other things that I found on TV, but especially my favorite drink, Monster and Red Bull. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about the coronavirus today. But we're actually talking not about the virus, but being healthy so the virus doesn't hit you. And I assure you, I am on the bullseye for coronavirus. I've had everything possible that would make me weak. And pneumonia 3 times. I've had malaria once. I've bailed out scuba diving because my regulator failed, so I blew my lungs apart. I embolized. And I'm still ticking. I'm the ever-ready bunny, and I'm still going. And, I'm not panicked like so many of my friends are. They're so afraid of dying. I'm going, Jesus. But anyway, it's a very important program because it's about health. And our guests today are our doctors. I mean, they know me very well, Dr. Nicole Srednicki. She is a doctorally prepared, board-certified family nurse practitioner, graduate from Georgetown, magna cum laude. She's the American Academy of Anti-Aging, which is why I look so good these days. And she's on the stem cell board. So she's one of those A students, which I love. And Dr. Josh Haggard is my chiropractor. He's a third-generation chiropractor. He's advanced certified, chiropractic biophysics. He understands how the body, and he is a body worker. When he talks about working out an hour a day, he and his wife work out an hour a day. They're those guys you see on stage flexing their muscles, which I don't do. But anyway, but it's really, these guys walk the talk. Any comments, Kim?
Well, I want to get into this virus that is spreading so fast. And
Wait, got to answer the question about Red Bull and Monster. What's wrong with Red Bull and Monster? Dr. Josh, what's wrong with it?
I like to compare that to some people. I say, how you're in your car, you're in a race car, and you're driving around, you have this nitro switch, right? And at the right time of the race, if you hit that nitro switch, it's going to sling you past the finish line and you win the race. But if you're hitting that nitro switch all day long, your engine's just going to blow up. It can't take that much over and over and over again, right? So it's kind of like you hit an overload and taxing your system, and then you're trying to catch up the rest of the day.
So the reason I bring this up is because Dr. Nicole had to wean me off of that stuff too, because I'm one of these adrenaline freaks. I could drink 10 cups of coffee, and I'm always adrenaline.
Well, if one is good, 10 must be better.
Yeah,
that's your
I'm
philosophy.
Wired, and then I can't sleep.
Yeah,
I can't. So, Dr. Nicole, what did you put me on to kind of replace Red Bull and my Monster? I like Monster too.
So we have found some healthy alternatives, which are there are 2 products called NRG, which is kind of like energy, and the other is Peak IQ. And these are actually B vitamins and adaptogenic herbs to help actually balance your stress response. So rather than being hyped up all the time, this actually makes your body more neutral, which you actually have said that you like this feeling because you're also not feeling like that anxiety or aggression that usually comes along with having excessive amounts of Monster or Red Bull. And of note, with Monster and Red Bull and all of these other energy drinks, my fiance, who's the director of a heart transplant program, he has seen an increase in the number of patients with heart failure, most likely as a result to their excessive intake of these energy drinks.
Interesting.
It really does destroy your body and your heart.
Yeah, well, the reason that's important because her fiance, Dr. Radagopal, is a cardiologist, so he's way up there on the food chain of doctors. But he kept trying to tell me to get off of coffee. And he knows to take my life away,
Well, that's not going to happen here.
But because
not
Nicole,
in this group. Right here, the 3 of us sitting here at this table.
but Nicole shifted me to these healthier nitro switches, as Dr. Josh says. My coffee consumption dropped, but I'm more wired all day long. But it's a clean wired. There's one more thing I want to talk about that's very popular today, and that's vaping. Dr. Josh, what's wrong with vaping?
Yeah, let me just preface this. Is that we've got this virus that's spreading so fast, and we asked at the break, is this a sign that the world is so unhealthy? And you said, well, there's a few things that have changed that are maybe contributing to this quick spread. So can you talk about that, Dr. Josh?
Yeah, one of the things we noticed that they're coming out with all these new vaping products, and it's kind of big with the kids. You know, these young teenagers, and we have some young kids. We have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and an 18-year-old, 3 boys, and that it's just it's exciting. It's something new that they can say, oh, you guys don't understand about it. It's our generation's thing, and they want to grasp onto it. And it's not really a new thing, right? Every generation has their thing they think helps rebel. But they know that vaping causes just as much suppression of immune response as smoking does. So it's not any healthier when it comes to like immune response and that sort of thing. They might be able to say it's healthy for these 4 reasons, but vaping then has its own problems, like the types of chemicals they're going to put into them to make them taste good or flavor this and that are going to cause problems. And they already know that, you know, they're finding more and more out every day, but they already know that there's already a whole handful of problems that people are having.
And it affects the respiratory
Right.
system.
And their respiratory system doesn't work correctly. And then when something around like this coronavirus comes that they didn't foresee because they're young kids, and all of a sudden now it's like this kid, you know, like I was reading on the news, some young kid who was a lacrosse player all through college, he's like incredible health. He can't believe that he's now in an induced coma on a respirator. And I don't know his history, but there's all these people that think they're healthy, but they're not really doing everything because they think they're healthy. They're not doing the basic necessities that they should be every day. So, you know, that's why I always try to push people, look, pay attention to what you're doing. I know you think you're healthy, but are you really eating that many vegetables throughout the day? Are you getting that much sunlight? Are you eating enough protein? Are you exercising every day? Are you sleeping enough? Those things all start to add up when you don't do them day after day.
Cut it out, Josh. I'm feeling guilty now. Come on. so Dr. Josh, one more thing you mentioned was this, the advent of 5G is coming in, and that's really good news, isn't it?
And Wuhan was like the start of, I mean, wasn't Wuhan full of 5G? They were like one of the first places to have it.
Right. That's what I've been reading. That's what I've been hearing. And, you know, you can read all sorts of different things, and some people say they're conspiracy, some people they aren't. But even like the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, they said that's when we first started having radio waves go all over the planet, right? And then radar came out in World War II, and they had another epidemic. And you kind of hear all these different things go on, but there's significant stuff about the 5G, right? And people go, well, you've had 5G Wi-Fi in your house, so there's arguments on both sides, but there's definitely a lot of coincidence with it there, and it's definitely something you should pay attention to. And if it affects your sleep to have those things in your room or your house, maybe you need to turn them off when you go to bed so that you can sleep better throughout the night and then turn them back on in the morning, because you really don't need your Wi-Fi on 24/7.
I do.
My kids would disagree, but you don't.
Anyway, so Dr. Nicole, what do you want to say about all that?
Well, I mean, I think Josh hit the nail on the head with what this stuff is doing to us. You know, you just have to be careful, and I think, you know, a general rule that I use is moderation. I mean, you know, sleeping with all of these devices next to our heads at night, and, you know, constantly having our face in our phones and all of this, you know, we're being exposed to this electromagnetic radiation, and it does do things to our bodies.
You're talking.
So what are we doing?
You know, every time, you know, I go to Dr. Nicole for my health, but every time I leave, I'm more depressed than I walked in there. Here's what she's talking about. I do. So
hey, I'm about quality of life too.
I know, but I'm. You know, she's got me kicking and screaming. She talks to me every time I'm there. One thing I want to talk to you about is vitamins. You know, Dr. Josh recommended, you know, talking about natural and real vitamins. So, Dr. Nicole, what if I told you I was taking a 1-a-day vitamin a day? Is that enough?
I would say it's probably worthless. So,
so one thing I do every week is I get a vitamin drip, and I go to Dr. Nicole or another naturopath, and I get a vitamin drip once a week. And I know there's a lot of these places that are now popping up. Is that something you recommend?
Yes, IV vitamins can be very beneficial for our body, because when you get vitamins through an IV, they're going directly into your system so that you're bypassing all of these breakdown mechanisms that are in our stomach and in our liver. So we're able to absorb a lot more of these vitamins. And, you know, in the world that we live in today, just taking a multivitamin isn't enough. We're constantly, you know, our foods unfortunately aren't as healthy as they used to be. We're constantly, you know, we're breathing dirty air. We're, you know,
Nicole,
there's so many toxins around and heavy metals. Yes?
Yeah, they know that stuff, but let me say, I'm giving you a pitch here. Look, you guys, one of the reasons you want to get rich is so you can afford Dr. Nicole's. a health advocate that defends you against the medical system and the pharmaceutical system. And the reason I go to her is not just for the IV. You sit down, she gives us full analysis. I mean, it's like worse than brain surgery. And she can evaluate exactly your strengths, your weaknesses, it's precision. And it's not just dropping in on an IV clinic. What Dr. Nicole does is she actually monitors what's going into my body, specifically designed for what I'm deficient in. So it's precision vitamins. Would you say that's correct, Dr. Nicole?
Yes, thank you.
That's the difference. So don't lecture me about my vitamin. Everybody knows I need vitamins. I'm trying to teach Nicole how to sell here.
I'd like to jump in and say,
yeah.
I'd like to say that I've been adjusting Robert for a long time, and he mentioned that he's not really easy to adjust, and it might be because he's stubborn, but it's really because he's he's really strong. He's got a lot of muscle, and he's also got arthritis and degeneration, which decreases flexibility. But since he's been going to get these IV drips, magnesium is one of the biggest deficiencies we know in people, and when they are magnesium deficient, it's really hard for people to relax their muscles. And it's really hard to adjust those people. He's been easier to adjust in the last couple of years than any of the years before. And I really think it's from, like she's saying, he's able to absorb these minerals and vitamins, get them in the system so his body's working better. But you can ask Robert, I think we've had the best adjustments in the last 2 years than we've had even all the years before. I relate it to that.
That's an amen and a hallelujah, because it's not that I'm inflexible. I'm just rigid. I am locked up. And
Sorry.
So I'm trying to teach Dr. Nicole how to sell, because she has all these people call up and they want free advice, but she doesn't just give free advice. Well, I got a headache, I got this. You have to go into her, sit down. She does a full workup on everything, and then over the years she'll track your work. What do you call those things you do? But she can tell me where I'm deficient, what stress is coming in. And she can precision or laser drop in not only the light therapy, but she can drop in the vitamins intravenously. Is that correct, Dr. Nicole?
Yes, and so what I really, one of the things that I do with patients is I call it their internal body mapping. So we can kind of tell, what is your internal age? On the outside, you might feel healthy, you might look good, but how old are you on the inside? And that's where then we can determine, what types of treatment we're going to go into.
So let me ask another subject, because this is a personal concern of mine with this coronavirus, is they're talking about all these vaccines. I'm not big on vaccines, and I don't like to put chemicals into my body. I spend a lot of money getting all that stuff out of my body. So my concern is they're going to come up with a vaccine that they're going to say everybody must have to fight this virus. Any comments?
I feel because it's so contagious that so many people have already been exposed to this. I think people have been exposed to this thing since November. They found it in December and said, man, this is what's going on. But I've had hundreds of patients with like the weirdest symptoms all winter long saying, this is the weirdest flu, or I never even get the flu. What is this? It's crazy. And it's affected the lungs. I think so many people have already been affected by this. They're just able to start finding it out. But if they can start doing like an antibody test or titer test to see who's had this, because it's so contagious, so many of us have already going to have had it, then, and they're saying it doesn't even mutate that fast, that there's a chance you're already going to have the immunity to it, and you may not need the vaccine if you can prove you've already had it. So I think that's going to be a big part of it.
But that's you're going to mess up with Big Pharma then, because one of the things they do is they make it a requirement you must be vaccinated.
Or you
well,
don't
maybe
get.
they'll just make another strain of it then. I don't know.
So
I think that so they are actually trying to determine right now for the people that have already had it and now have antibodies, they're trying to figure out how long these antibodies are lasting in their body. And I think, going back to the vaccine question, I think we need to see, where this disease is headed so far. Is it going to continue to mutate and cause issues, or is it going to be like the H1N1 where they quickly developed a vaccine, all these people ran out and got the vaccine, and then they realized, oops, it's practically disappeared now.
Well, we don't have to worry, because Donald Trump says it'll be over by Easter. So we don't have.
I'm with him. I'm with him.
Another interesting, in talking about, what's going to happen with this disease, obviously we've been looking at, potential treatments. And I think there's been some really promising studies, anything from malarial drugs to, I've even seen, high dose IV vitamin C, even stem cell therapy. But a new FDA, I don't know if they've actually, I think they might have approved it, or they're just looking into it, but plasma transfusions. And that is where they take somebody who's already had the virus and they have antibodies, and they actually take some of their blood and separate it and inject it into somebody with the virus to help their immune system to then fight off the disease.
Okay, once again,
It's interesting because in anti-aging medicine, this is something that's actually been around for several years called parabiosis, but it got shut down by the FDA.
Of course it did.
But now they're okaying it.
Of course it did.
That just means you have to go to Mexico to get it.
So before we look, so a couple of points I want to bring up here is that, like one of the complaints I had about my little Twitter post, which Dr. Nicole is responsible for, because all they were the stats. They're just arithmetic. It wasn't about stay in your lane about money. Stay in your lane about money. I mean, these idiots out there, Jesus Christ. Well, if you don't think your health costs money, think again. You know what I mean? That's all I want to say. So Dr. Nicole doesn't accept insurance. So don't call her. Don't say, well, I have insurance, because she won't talk to you. Because if the insurance covers it, it's probably not worth it. So one of the reasons you want to get rich, I promise you, you've got to have your own personal physician. Like I have to have a lawyer protect me from other lawyers. If you can understand that thought, and for those who, money is not that important, that's like saying my health is not important. So please understand me. We gave out Dr. Nicole's number a while ago, and she gets swamped by all these hypochondriacs with no money. I mean, she can't afford to deal with hypochondriacs with no money. Is that correct, Nicole?
Yes, and unfortunately, yes. The way our healthcare system is changing, I don't have the capabilities to the way insurance is used in regular doctor's office is, in order for them to sustain, they have to see 20, 30 patients a day. Now, how can I give you quality of care if I'm seeing you for 5 minutes?
And there's one more.
That's kind of the same thing we have. We have that same problem in our office as well. Since Obamacare started and everybody's deductibles went up crazy, everyone just comes in and pays out of pocket now. And then we said, what's cool about this? We get to treat you the way we think is best, and not the way the insurance company is telling us to treat you so that they'll pay the bills. And we're like 90% out of pocket, just like you're talking about going to, and it was the best thing that happened because our patients love it the most. And they're so willing and happy to pay it because they're like, once they get it, they're like, no, this is exactly what I want. It's so much worth paying this than paying all this money to the insurance company who's not going to give you the care you want in the first place.
Right, so the reason I say that, Dr. Josh, I walked in there, you don't accept Medicare or Medicaid? I was going, what's happening here?
Right. Yeah, it's just, it's too hard to do things with an insurance company or, the government telling you how you should treat your people based on what they think is best. And it's not always what's best. It's just what's best for their system. And that's right. It's not what's best for the patient.
And that's probably another show where we talk about insurance and pharmaceuticals and Western medicine and all of that. That's a whole other subject.
There's not a whole lot of. It's not going to be a politically correct show.
No. That'll be a fun one.
Well, if it's politically correct, it's not on Rich Dad Radio, because why would we do what's politically correct? So anyway, I want to thank the TV. We'll definitely have you back because this is a very hot topic. I know I should stay in my lane and not talk about health care, but let me tell you, health and wealth cost money. And that's why if you have you have a bad financial planner, a bad attorney, and a bad doctor, you're screwed. So I want to thank you guys, and we'll get you back again.
Thank you, Dr. Josh. Thank you, Dr. Nicole.
You.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we come back, we're going to more comments about what Kim and I do to stay healthy, because there's, I'm going to stay in my lane because I don't think about health, but I do know about money. And I will say this right now. Last year, suicides were up. After this coronavirus thing, and they're locked at home with their kids and their husbands and their wives, suicide is going to be massive. So we'll be right back talking about how you got to take care of your mental health. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news today about your health. And as you know, the coronavirus is on because this is March 2020. And the real issue is not the virus, but how strong are you? What is your health? And I want to thank Dr. Nicole Srednicki. Please don't call her, because if you don't have a lot of money, she can't help you. Because not that she's expensive, is the materials she uses are very expensive. I mean, if you can get it from Medicare and all that stuff, you're being screwed anyway. So all of you get upset with me that I was talking about health on my Twitter account. Look, health and wealth go hand in hand. So health, wealth, and happiness, same thing. So anyway, that's why we have the Rich Dad Show, and we're talking about health and what you can do. And all of you can go outside and look at the sun in the morning. That would help a lot. And then, you know, whatever things they said, and don't stay off those one-a-days and Red Bulls. But anyway.
Well, drink water. That's a simple thing. Anybody can do that. Drink a lot of water. That helps.
But not with that sugar stuff in it.
Nope.
It's fructose and all that. You can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes or Android and YouTube. And you can please leave a review after you listen to it. And you can bitch at me for being a capitalist pig, which I am. But I'm doing my best to help, because you don't have money, you're going to die. You're going to die a painful life because you can't afford health care today. And you can listen to this program again at richdadradio.com. We archive all of our programs at richdadradio.com, because if you listen to this again, you'll learn twice as much. And this is a very important show to listen to again, because it's about your health and how it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to be healthy, because this coronavirus is a bunch of crock. I mean, I don't doubt it's dangerous. I don't doubt any of that stuff. And I'm ground zero for the target market for being coronavirus best target. You know, like I said, I've had malaria, I've had pneumonia 3 times, I've embolized, and I can't ask for a worse health target, but it's, and I don't want to get sick, but that's why I stay healthy. Any comments, Kim?
Yeah, well, the purpose of this show is just to get people aware and to start taking action, start doing your own home research. I mean, what I love about Dr. Josh is when you go in there, you get adjusted, and then he puts you on this ice massage table afterwards, and you're looking up, and he has these screens on the ceiling, and the screens have all these different slides, little things about little health tips that anybody can do. So anybody can go out in the sun in the morning. Anybody can drink more water. Anybody can take their tech devices when they're, going to sleep and put them somewhere else. Anybody can do that. So a lot of the things that, or go for a walk, go for a hike. Oh my gosh, there's so many people right now. I went for a hike the other day up in the mountain here in Phoenix, and everybody's out there hiking with their kids and their dogs, and they're biking, and they're out there getting exercise. So there's things you can do, but you just gotta. What
the other thing was when you go to Dr. Josh's office, he and his wife are pictures of health.
Yeah, no kidding.
They practice what they preach.
Yeah.
And I've noticed most health. I go into many doctors' offices, I feel sick. Because they look sick, fat, hoggy, overweight, smoking, drinking. Anyway, sports fans, that's why I have Rich Dad Radio. So, Kim, what do you think about what they said about health? What's your opinion of that? And staying in our lane about money. Doesn't it cost money to stay healthy?
Yeah, all I know is I'll just, what we do. So once a week I go to my naturopath and I get a vitamin drip, and I get what's called blood ozone, where they actually put oxygen into your blood, because cancer and diseases cannot grow where there's oxygen. And that's not cheap to do that every week. But that's why one of the priorities, especially as we get older, is I want to pay more and more attention to my health. So healthcare, good quality healthcare, especially on the natural side of things, it costs money. It does cost money.
And the other thing is that, I don't mean to be cruel for Dr. Srednicki, but she spent a lot of time talking to poor people who are unhealthy. And they're hypochondriacs on top of it. They're mentally diseased. So that's really kind of the problem.
But it's the same thing as money. It's the same thing as health, because everybody wants the quick fix. They want the magic pill. Tell me what to do. I'll just take this magic pill from the pharmaceutical company and I'm going to be healthy. It takes time. It takes everyday attention and practice. You got to go do something. You got to go do something to stay healthy. Just like your money.
There's one special bag that Dr. Nicole breaks out. it cost her $5,000.
Holy mackerel.
So she's not gouging me. She's got to pay that. Insurance is never going to cover that.
No.
Never, 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 never. So all of you people out there, I am as politically incorrect as I can be today. If you're poor, you're screwing yourself. So get rich. Get rich, because there's more opportunity today than ever before. I was talking to our friend, Greg Jaggers and Rhonda. This whole coronavirus thing has made them richer. They said, oh, we just reevaluated everything we did, and we can actually make more money. Rich Dad right now is going to make even more money because of this coronavirus thing.
And that's a good point, because Greg and Rhonda are tied to the school system. They're tied to the public school system. That's where they get their money from, the state. But they are entrepreneurs. And so as an entrepreneur, as we talked about with a show with Guy Kawasaki, they look at the situation and say, where's the opportunity? What can we do differently? How can we turn this around? How can we turn a negative into a positive? That's the mindset of an entrepreneur. And that also applies to your health. How can you turn a negative into a positive?
Well,
what can
all
you do?
Guys who are sweating the coronavirus, I don't blame you. I don't want to get it, and I don't want to be sick. I've heard it's horrible. We're at this conference, and several people, I think, had it, but I didn't get sick. I'm the oldest in the group. I didn't get sick. They got sick.
Before we knew about it.
Yeah. But they got really, really sick. I didn't get sick. And I don't want to get sick. That's what I'm also trying to say to you. But you got to pay attention to it, your health, just like you pay attention to your wealth. And all of that starts in your mind, in your head. For those of you who still have this, well, I'm not interested in money and the rich are evil, you're hosed right now. I mean, you're a host, because if you don't have money, you can't afford health care. So I want to thank you for listening to Rich Dad Radio. And, again, talk to your friends about this program, review it, listen to it, discuss it. Because if you don't change your mind, you don't change your life. Thank you for listening.